Yeah. Come down off your throne and leave your body alone. Somebody must change. You are the reason I've been waiting for so long. Somebody hold the key. In the end, and I just ain't got the time. And I'm wasted and I can't find my way home. Come down on your own and leave your money at home. Somebody must change. You are the reason I've been waiting all these years. Somebody hold the key. Well, I'm in the end and I just ain't got the time. And I'm wasted and I can't find my way home. Well, I can't find my way home. No, can't find my way home. Well, I can't find my way home. I can't find my way home. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is a very special edition of the Pauly G Show, as I used to refer to it as. I kind of dropped all that stuff, but special edition of the channel because a little bit of a road trip here. I'm down here in the eastern Texas area, east of Dallas, with my very good friend Randy from Randy's Rhythm, a great channel. I strongly advise you to go over there and check out his lessons in finger picking and just his general playing and just his great, knowledge of guitars and personality. It's just a great channel, and I we met through YouTube.
Yeah.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the guitar that brought us together was the Epiphone Excellente.
Yes.
Because I had a video of my review, which I had to redo because that was done with my iPhone, really poor quality. You taught me how to do things the right way with real production equipment. So I redid it, but I was searching through Excellente videos, maybe even before I bought mine, and saw yours, among others, and I really enjoyed the video. We started communicating, watching each other's videos, and just, we just became friends. It's just one of those things where the music brought, us together, and so many of my good, closest friends have come about that way, and it's a great thing, But I'm just thrilled to be here with Randy and Randy's beautiful home in his studio where he makes these videos. So I've seen it through YouTube for so many years, and here I am. It's a thrill to be here, with you. I appreciate your hospitality here. So I wanted to ask a little bit about your journey. We're both obviously obsessed with buying guitars and in particular acoustic guitars. I have a fair amount of really great electrics, but I really lust more for the most part over acoustic guitars, and I think you do the same.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about you had started out actually. You had a recording studio at a certain point, right?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. I didn't deserve it, but I had one. Yes.
And you kept that going for a while, and
I want to say probably a couple of years.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
I'd picked my first guitar up. I was probably 8 years old or such,
Yeah.
and I learned some chords. That was about it, and I could strum a little. And then when distortion came along, well, of course, then I could play because everything sounded back good to me, back then.
Made us all players.
Yeah, exactly. But I went through that phase with electrics, and I've still got a bit of a phase with electrics. I love them.
Yeah,
but they're more band oriented than they are sitting in a room playing. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's great for practicing that kind of thing. But as you can see from the guest bedroom in there, and the guitars on the wall in here, I've grown tremendously fond of acoustics.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the first thing my parents had gotten me, but when life happens, kids, all that kind of thing. But I think I opened that studio up. It was called East Texas Recording Studio, and I had that for maybe about 2 years before I just couldn't, frankly, afford it anymore. To be honest with you, because it's pretty expensive to do that, as your friend Paul Oaksack will surely knows.
Yeah.
It's a constant investment of cash that has to have an infusion there to offset it, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. But I had that studio for a few years. We did some bands and some independent folks down in the area in East Texas, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. I think what drove me there was I'd met Paul Osborne, who owns Audio Dallas, and if you just YouTube research Audio Dallas, you'll see that's no small operation. And Paul and I worked together in our early career, and then he quit the company we were working for, and we remained friends over the years. And he's got a very, very successful studio. I think it's just outside of Dallas. I thought it was actually he had moved it to downtown, but it's still just outside of Dallas, and still doing it, very successful at it. But I wanted to know how do you bring all these instruments together? How do you create that stereo loop? How do you how do you record these various instruments?
Yeah, there's so much to it, and I think most people really don't understand what all goes into a good quality recording. Now, were you using tape at that point? Or?
Yes, I was using tape, and this was all analog, and I had a 32 channel recording board.
Yeah,
and it's hard to appreciate how that's done until you've actually blown channels out in a recording board you spent thousands of dollars on. But I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And then, from there I had stopped and just focused on, what pays the bills.
Yeah.
And then that guitar you're holding in your hands.
Yeah, it's a beauty.
So, which is a 1969 Silvertone that was completely rebuilt by Scott Baxendale.
Yeah.
And Scott's got a long history. I've done a bunch of videos on the channel talking about Scott, but I think he's got a ministry,
Yeah.
It's amazing what he does. He pulls the neck, he pulls the back, he completely re-braced underneath the top, put X-bracing in, his brand of X-bracing. He was originally with Mossman Guitars.
Yeah.
Which for those of you that are a little older on the channel, you may remember them. But put a new fretboard on, new frets, new keys, new bridge. It's a rosewood fretboard, rosewood bridge.
Yeah.
And you can see that was, he told me that was probably the cleanest example of a guitar he'd rebuilt at the time I bought it. And it is a little powerhouse with 60-year-old woods on it, right?
Yeah, it's a gem,
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about, these are the kind of vintage guitars you can get into at a more affordable, price point. If you're, willing to put the money into, doing the things you did, which is, brace work and things like that. But, the vintage market has not suffered at all through the sort of the downturn in guitar pricing as a whole. They just keep going up. I can't believe what vintage Gibson acoustics and vintage Martins are going for. It's just it's crazy. It's crazy money. So it's really hard to get into that area if you want a vintage guitar at an affordable price, and this is a great example of something that you can do that with.
But,
So,
originally these things were like $29-$30.
yeah,
Well, anywhere from $20 to $30, let's say,
yeah,
out of a Sears catalog or a Montgomery Ward's or something like that. And
Yeah.
they were built right here in Chicago with American craftsmanship.
yeah.
And so if you can land a good example of one, you have landed a real gem.
And they made great electrics too, and it used to come with a little combo amp,
They did.
probably like a 5-watt, or 10-watt little amp, In fact, the amp, a friend of mine has one. It's actually built into the guitar case.
Yeah.
So you take the electric guitar out, and you open up the case, and you're playing live. It's
There's
really,
one on
really,
Craigslist in this area, Dallas area, which is Dallas is actually quite a ways from you, but it's the closest big city, I'd say. And there's one of those for sale with the case amp. They're all original.
Yeah, wow.
And when I look at that, you think back in history. A lot of people have seen that movie, That Thing You Do.
Oh, I love that movie. That's one of my favorites. Yeah, they were playing.
They were playing several times.
They did. That was they were. I was if you're geeks like us, when you watch a movie, you focus on, are the guitars period correct or not? And they did a great job in that movie. They were definitely period correct. Guitars. Unlike Back to the Future, where he was playing a 1959 ES 345 in 1955, but that's a whole other rabbit hole to go down with our friend Norm at Norman's Rare Guitars and all that.
That's probably his favorite scene in the movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I mean, he got rich off of that guitar. But but anyway, I guess. So you and I, we both suffer from guitar acquisition syndrome or gas, and but you've amassed an extraordinary collection of a wide range of sizes and things, and I think you're more appreciative of because you're a phenomenal finger picker, which I'm not. By the way, I came all the way down here to get a in-person finger picking lesson because I'm just not getting it together at home, So, but whereas I kind of tend to focus more on dreadnoughts and jumbos, you have a style that is suited as much to those as it is to playing these smaller sort of concert body styles, and I aspire to that, but I'm not there yet. But how long has it been, do you think, since you really started? Building up the collection? Has it been a long time, or is it something that's sort of accelerated? Yeah,
started with that guitar. So I started with my first guitar that gave me the bug. Is that a good way to say it?
Yeah.
Was that guitar you're holding?
Interesting. Wow, I didn't know that. Well, that's very interesting to know.
Yeah. So I bought that guitar, and I had decided then. I paid $1,400 or $1,500 for it, and I can't remember now what it was. And by the way, everybody, I wouldn't sell that guitar for $5,000. I would not sell it.
I blame you.
Couple of reasons. Number one, it was built in 1969, and I was 11 years old, and I was loving guitars in 1969, right? And that was what was available, that kind of guitar. And I had a small one when I was younger.
Yeah.
When I was at that 9-year-old range that I'm sure came out of a Sears catalog. I can't remember at this point. But when I bought that guitar and I played it, I could not believe the tone coming out of it.
Yeah.
And so I had found this guitar on Reverb. Scott had it in a shop up in Colorado. He'd sent it up there, and they were going to sell it out of there. And Telluride, is it Telluride? Might be Telluride Music. I can't remember, but they had that guitar in there. So I called Scott. I actually went to his website and then called him, and we talked. And he was telling me about this particular guitar, and so I didn't know who he was. I just did a little read up on the history.
Yeah.
And it talked about how Billy Gibbons he kept his guitar up, did work on it, built one for Johnny Depp, kept up the Roy Acuff Museum there in Nashville when he worked for Groom.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Wow.
And then he started out with Mossman Guitars with Stuart Mossman, building custom guitars out of Winfield, Kansas.
Yeah, those were highly sought after. Yeah.
And I've got one over here. Yeah. And he that's when I began to learn that depending upon what you're going to do with the guitar, woods matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
and
they do. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and it's not that any one guitar is actually better than another one. It's what are you going to do with the guitar? I think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm good in my older age, just playing and doing YouTube videos, kind of having a good time. But that guitar gave me the fever, and from there we went to, you know, the Gibson J45, Gibson J100, the Epiphone inspired by Gibson, Hummingbird, the Excelente, and what's the one on it? Mackenzie and Marr.
Yeah.
Out of Canada.
Stellar.
Yep. The starting on the one I was playing in the video with you just a minute ago. Yeah. That guitar was built by Robert Snyder out of Colorado, and hand built, especially for me. And then the one you hold in your hands, and then another all solid birch, Baxendale, and then the Mossman guitar, and then we won't talk about the other room because my wife may see this video. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you've done a better job of understanding and focusing on what I'll call more of the boutique brands in some ways, like Baxendale and Mossman and things, where I've always been a little bit trepidatious in treading in that water because although I almost never sell my guitars, my brother taught me a long time ago that whenever you buy a guitar, think about the day you're going to sell it. Yeah. And I always look at it and think, all right, well, who's going to know what this is? And there are people that are going to know. There's no question. Yeah. But it narrows the market, you know. But I should try to get over that because I never end up selling them anyway. So what am I worried about? I don't know. You know, I just keep buying stuff. Right. But I tend to swim in the Gibson, you know, Martin brand name kind of lane for the most guild, and I'm a huge guild fan. If you watch my channel, you know how many guilds I have. I think I've got 8 or 9 of them now. It's stupid, but they're all awesome. But the point of it all is they are unique to one another. All of these are unique, and all of mine are unique. They all do different things, so they all sound different, and they're all fun to play in their own way. You know, which I think is kind of the point, and they're beautiful to look at.
Right.
I've bought many guitars 90% on looks. You know, I'm more of a bling. I like the bling bling a little bit. You know, so I tend to, when I see something like that, it tends to pull me in. But if it doesn't have a great sound to it, then chances are I'm not gonna buy it. Or if I do buy it, I'll sell it. You know, at some point. But yeah, they are unique. You know, to one another. But your channel has been great because it has that marriage of the, you know, teaching about the guitars and how they're constructed and the materials and the playing. You know, that's the key, and I think that's what's been the key to your success. That and just your general, you know, just your general style. I think everybody just appreciates the way you convey information. I know I do. That's what pulled me in, you know, certainly to watching the channel. I just got to get better at actually knowing how to work this right hand.
We're going to do a little finger style.
All right. Well, you know, several months ago, I messaged Randy and told him that I developed a thing called No Pick Saturday. So Saturdays, I'm not allowed to hold a pick unless I'm gigging, because I can't finger pick when I do a gig. I have to use a pick. But if I'm not gigging, then Saturdays are devoted to, you know, putting the pick down and just trying to get a sound out of this right hand, which for me is always been a struggle. But it's like anything else, you gotta put the work in, you know. But it's a thrill to be here with you. It really is. Thank you. I encourage everybody again to go over to Randy's channel, especially if you're wanting to learn about finger picking and learning how to do that. That's a great place to be, and just to meet just a great person in general. So
thanks.
It's a thrill to be here. We've been trying to put this together for a long time.
We have.
Yeah. We both travel, and you know it's hard to get those two ships going in the same direction. But I finally sort of put my foot down and said, "All right, I'm coming down to Texas. We're not getting any younger. We got to make this happen." You know. And Randy's been out to Norman's Rare Guitars. That's a place that I've frequented and bought a number of things, and I think you enjoyed that visit.
And getting to sit down with Norm was pretty nice,
yeah,
and we sat and visited for a little while, and he made the time and told him I knew you, and of course he remembered you.
That's great to hear, because he's got a lot of rock stars flowing in and out of there. So,
he does.
But I'll never forget the first trip I made in there. I mean, who am I? And they treated me like they would treat any rock star that walked in the door. So. That's a great shop, to visit.
You don't get overlooked.
Not at all. Yeah, you really don't. On the other hand, it's it's not high pressure sales. They don't stand there and say, "Are you going to buy it? Are you going to buy it?" And I've been to shops like that, and it's not fun. It's like shopping for a new car. I mean, they just won't leave you alone. Right. So because these things sell themselves. They do. I think for the most part. So, anyway, let's see. We did a little playing, and I'm going to share that in the video. We came up with a quick little number, something I hadn't played in years, but I thought of it this morning, and I thought, let's try that. Let's try that little tune. So it was fun. You sounded great on it. So
back at you.
Yeah, it was that was a fun thing to do. So. Anyway, I don't want to make this too long, but I wanted to get a chance to introduce Randy. If you haven't been to his channel, I'm sure you probably have by now. If you're smart, you will be. So you'll go there. So it's great to be down here in Texas, and great to be here with you. So thanks for taking the time and meeting with me. And
glad to have you,
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be here. So
glad to have you.
Now we're gonna go get some barbecue.
Yes,
that's the next order of business here.
Trust me, I'm gonna fatten him up before he goes back.
Yeah. So I got to set aside the diet for a couple of days. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you real soon.
Appreciate it.
Hope you're doing well and happy and healthy. And bye for now.